Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to have our guest. My name is Faris Alami and this is StartupGrind Detroit. As you know, this is a monthly event that we do here in Detroit, and I hope to see you in person soon. For today, this will be recorded online and it'll be available for those who missed it to be with us today. I'm really excited about our guests because we have an awesome story to hear, and looking forward to hear the story today from Dr. Leron. So maybe we could give him a little bit of background. Our goal today, obviously, with StartupGrind Detroit, to just get some insights about Detroiters, entrepreneurs, and what they might have done to start or grow their businesses. And I'm looking forward to hearing our discussion today with Dr. Leron. So Dr. Leron, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So would love to maybe let the audience, just give them a little bit of background about who you are and what you've done, and a little bit about Math for Success.
Hello. Yes, my name is Leron Lightfoot, and I'm the founder and CEO of Math for Success. Math for Success is an education service provider based out of Detroit, Michigan. Our goal is to provide a quality, flexible service to students of the Metro Detroit area and beyond in the future. Our goal is to establish corporate American mathematicians and to provide the services within the inner cities. Our goal is to provide students reputation of mathematicians that looks like them, that can be represented in all walks of life. But our goal is to really target the disadvantaged communities of Detroit and try to make sure that we're providing that level of representation to the students. Myself, I'm an engineer by trade, but I've been doing the entrepreneur's business for about 5 years now, and I do it full time. And one of the things that I always wanted to do was provide an opportunity to give back to my community, and this was the avenue that I took to provide that service.
Ron, thank you so much. I'm curious. I mean, an engineer could easily have a nice job, working somewhere, not worrying about a thing. Why would you want to leave your engineering stable job and start a business that could potentially be unstable, or, you don't know directions that you might take you?
So all my life, I've been able to. I was always a math tutor, and I always had a passion for teaching. But I knew that my skill set that I wanted to go into a more stable space of being an engineer. But then as I worked 5 years in that space, I realized that my passion, my heart was always in providing that service. And so when as I tutored and as I did different gigs throughout the time I was at General Motors as an engineer, I realized that there was an avenue that was a void that wasn't being filled, in the sense of providing that quality level of education. And as I talked to other peers of mine, I realized that there's a lot of other people like me that wanted to provide that level of service. And so what I did was design a system where just people, I guess, peers of mine that were looking to provide a level of service where they had that platform to do so. So majority of the tutors and instructors that work with Math for Success are corporate position professionals, engineers or tech gurus within the corporate American jobs. And I think that for me, I knew that this avenue could work because I knew that there was a passion for it, but at the same time, there was a void that was missing, and I knew that we were filling in. And so, I think looking back at it now, 5.5 years later, it's the best decision I made in my life doing so.
Wow, what a story. I mean, it's so inspiring that you wanted to do that. And I'm assuming at one point through your childhood, something that probably touched you back then that you might even recall or not recall now, that probably made that, tipping point for you to make that shift. And I don't know if anyone ever told you that, or if you're aware of that moment, or if you've thought or reflected on it.
Yeah, so I can take you all the way back. I really, since first grade, I knew that I was gifted in mathematics, right? I know that when I was in fourth grade, this is when I first was introduced to like honors, mathematics, and honors courses in the sense of knowing that there was a platform for people that was gifted like me to be able to really explore their math talent. And so from there, I was able to excel in math and take all the advanced courses from my middle school to my high school years, like AP courses and so forth. And when I was able to take the SAT, which is a standardized test that we take, that high schoolers take for college admissions, I was able to get a perfect score on the math section of the SAT. And that's what catapulted me to understand that, you know, the level, how gifted I was in that space. But what the effect of that was that I was able to get full scholarship to multiple colleges, and all the way up to my PhD. So I'm graduated student loan free and able to, I guess, live my life without having to worry about that burden, paying back student loans. And I saw the value in math from then on. I saw that the value of math could be utilized in so many different ways that I want to create that attention to details to the community of the disadvantaged, to be able to use that as a tool to get out of the situation that they may currently be in. So a lot of times in our community, it may be sports or it may be music. That may be the avenue that's being taught to get out of the situation. And I want math to be on the same platform where it's celebrated and it's understood that this route can be a way that students can get out of their situations and be able to achieve, you know, and be successful in life. And so,
Wow. You said perfect score. Wow, that's impressive. Congratulations. And
thank you.
carried you all the way to PhD. That's very cool. Very cool. So walk me through, I mean, the 5 years in, I'm sure there are lots of, I call it, you know, speed bumps and ups and downs. And, you know, as you know, I'm sure the terminology I use, sometimes it's your high is high and low is low. And sometimes they might be the same moment when you're feeling high and low. You get a contract, you're like, this is exciting. And then you might be thinking, oh, how am I going to do it? Or the other way around. You don't get a contract and you're still trying to grind. I'd love to hear from you, like maybe one of the challenges that you faced, maybe in the early stages when you were starting.
Yeah. So one of the challenges was figuring out what is that service that's going to be able to, I'll be able to provide to the community that can be something that can sustain my living lifestyle. Right. I have a 10-year-old daughter currently. I have, you know, families to think about when making that leap from being a corporate position to entrepreneur. And so what the challenge was first discovering like what is needed, like what is a true need for the community, right? Yes, I could tutor math, I could teach math, but what's the true need? And one of the things I realized that one of the needs was SAT test prep. And so that was the avenue that I took initially, was to provide that level of courses for schools. And when we received our first school contract for after school services, I realized that this, like, first of all, it's a huge need, but I knew how impactful we were at that point. And so that allowed me to take that leap and say, you know what, I think I want to bet on myself and take that leap and do this full time. So within 6 months of starting a business, I was putting my 2 weeks in to leave a job and do it full time. So it was really on that aspect, but then the other challenge was how to sustain, right? Because when the pandemic hit, that was a huge hurdle right there because we was the 100% in-person service provider, and we did after school in person and we did tutoring in person. But when the pandemic hit, we went from being in person to not sure what's next to like let's move it to the virtual space, and we did it within a week span from when we got the news that the schools were closing to okay, we have an online platform ready to go a week later. And that was because a lot of the people on the team, we all pretty much are tech savvy. So it was easy for us to adapt to that new space. And that allowed us to actually expand beyond our reach in a sense, right? Because we had contract that was in Georgia, California, different places that we didn't think that we would be taking on so early as a business, right? We realized how impactful we can still be in the virtual space, because my biggest thing in the beginning was, I think in person is always it's a better method for teaching, or better, better environment for teaching. But we found out that virtual could be just as impactful if we do it correctly. If we understand the tools, we understand how to still have the same level of effect. And so that allowed us to really grow and expand at that point. So it's like the, blessing in disguise in a way, right? When you're forced with certain hurdles to overcome, either you sink or you swim, right? And you chose to swim.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And then through the journey, I'm sure those challenges never stop, right? The thing is just the term I usually use is, they just change. As long as you have problems, I always tell people, you have a life. If you don't have problems, you most likely don't have a life. Not that you want to have problems all the time, but you want to at least have something going on. So I'm curious, what are some of the challenges that that you feel like that you're facing now with your business?
Of course, expanding, like growing, right? Because the growing pains is like you have to put better processes in place, right? Because sometimes when you start as an entrepreneur, you have a million hats in your head, right? How do you delegate tasks to others to be able to take on those tasks? How do you make sure people are given or other staff members are given the right tools to be successful in their roles, right? Going through the Goldman Sachs program, 2000 Small Business, really put a lot of things in perspective for me. Like when it comes down to building your processes and understanding your staff and understanding your vision, and understand opportunity growth plans, right? Those things are things that I'm still trying to figure out how to expand to other spaces, like such as subscription-based learning, right? That's something that I'm not familiar with, but I have to do the proper research and try to figure out how does that work out of that space. How do you do it, I guess, correctly without having any issues or having a lot of issues. And I guess to me, it's really, constantly looking out for business advisors that can help you out along the way. I think that's one of the key things I want to mention to everyone. Because if you don't have someone that you could discuss your pain points, that can help possibly guide you in the right direction, it gets tough, because a lot of times you have a skill set that you could do on your own, but then you get to a point where you run out of your resources in the sense of your own skill, right? You have to go into an avenue that you don't necessarily are not familiar with. And it's scary at times, right? But at the same time, you got to be comfortable enough to reach out for help and ask those detailed questions as to how can you navigate in this foreign place, right? Everyone goes to that point where they reach the point where everything comes foreign to them, and their natural, I guess, community or environment they're in, they run out of knowledge to provide to you, right? But that's where you have to go and find new communities that can give you that new knowledge, right? Because they're more knowledge about what those next steps can be for you as a business. And you have to be willing to go into other environments and other circles to get that knowledge from, you know. I know it's a long-winded answer.
Oh, no, it's okay. I always tell people, that's why you have 3 letters after your name, right? It's a research. So I guess I would surprise it. Surround yourself with some strong people during tough times, no matter which one.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. No, that's very powerful. So expansion is never easy. And, it's kind of interesting. I think there was a study, and I don't know who it is today. I read years ago that it said a lot of businesses actually go out of business during expansion, not during startup. So, which at the time was mind blowing. And then when I started really reflecting and reading it through, it can make sense, because you could overdo things right? You could be way too prepared, so you have inventory that is not moving. Your cash is tight. When you're starting up, $500 or $1,000 or whatever the number is, you could probably manage it. But as you grow, those numbers become bigger. So they're not easy to manage. Unless access to that kind of resources. Thank you so much for sharing that. And in the same token, there's so many wonderful things that in the beginning that you saw like a win for you, and now you have a win. I want to take a break, and then not necessarily we're going to go anywhere. I see if some people online with us, so we want to make sure that if you could always ask a question via the chat or via the comment section anywhere you like, or raise your hand. And for those who are watching this recorded, you'll have to ask in the comment section. But maybe we'll take just a short second to breathe and then continue the conversation. You and I won't go anywhere. We'll continue the conversation. We'll just pause. So we'll be right here.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for those who are rejoining now. This is Faris Alami. I'm the host of StartupGrind Detroit, and also the founder of International Strategic Management and Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development Company that supports organizations launching their programs in a community that is hugely underserved, underrepresented, or under-resourced. And we've been blessed to have touched 100 countries globally. I'm honored today because we have a guest that's on the Startup Grind today, and our guest sharing his own journey of starting and running a business, Dr. Leron Lightfoot.
Thank you.
And let's just continue the conversation. So what I want to talk about now is just some of the wins where you felt like you're on cloud nine, the world is under control, you got this. When you first started, maybe one of the wins that you felt like this got you the momentum.
I would say, when the first school was able to let us know that they wanted to take a chance with us to provide the services at the school, which I didn't anticipate to happen so soon. And, I thought it would be a longer process to prove ourselves, but they saw something that's early, and that really allowed me to really take a sign of relief, like, okay, this definitely can work, right? Because I'm having conversations that I didn't think I'll have so soon, right? And then seeing the impact that we made on the students that we first initially started with, right? We saw that, okay, this is something that they're not exposed to, and that we're providing this level of service that I'd say, imagine we're, 100 schools, right? Providing this similar service that, like this thing could really take off in the sense of like impact, right? And so I just knew that the first initial thing was that first school contract was really that first win that really allowed me to really take that leap of faith and say, you know what, I want to do this full time.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So the first contract made you feel really good. And I mean, and I know it's hard to think about these things because you probably had so many, just as many, I also feel just as much challenges. You probably had so many highs. Maybe you could reflect back on some of your newest wins where you felt like, maybe this year or last year, you felt like, okay, this is exciting. It's going to take me to different places, or you feel like you're winning again to be somewhere different. Would love to hear that.
I would say when we got approved to be an official vendor in the Detroit Public School District, I think that allowed us to like understand the space of becoming like the vendor side of things of a big district. Before it was like a lot of like charter schools, like smaller charter schools that will give us the school contracts, but then now going to a bigger space allowed us to really be seen a lot more. I think credibility gets put in place at that point when you're getting like those type of contracts in place, and so I think at that point it became like a domino effect when it came down to other schools, other programs reaching out to us, word of mouth type approach to see how can we partner and provide our services within the school. I think that's like more of a current wins that we're currently going through, because this school year went from having 1 to 2 school contracts a year to now having about 15 plus contracts in one school year. So that's definitely a big leap, and had a lot of growing pains too, because how do you staff for that level, right? So I have to go through that process to figure that out too. So definitely, it's a good position right now, I'll say.
Congratulations, man. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. And I'm sure that the more they see how awesome and wonderful not only you and the programs are, but the results that the kids get, as I'm sure hopefully more doors will open up as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. Clearly, I could keep you all day, but I'm sure you have few things to do beyond being here with me.
Just a little bit.
Just few more things.
Okay.
I'd love to hear maybe from you just some thoughts on, if you were to go back and visit yourself 5 years ago, or even 20 years ago, what would you tell yourself 20 years ago? What would yourself 5 years ago? What would you tell you? Now the truth is, as you know this, you and I have talked about this before. Sometimes it's easy for you to say it today, but the context and the learning and the process, what got you here, probably even if you said it back then to yourself, you'll be like, get out of here, nonsense. You never know. It might be a seed in someone's mind that could help them understand what thoughts you would tell someone, 20 years ago or 5 years ago, or both.
I will say, don't sell yourself short. I think a lot of times when you go into different spaces, where where you're not familiar with as much, you tend to sell yourself short. You tend to create smaller dreams for yourself. One of my great business advisors mentioned to me that why not push for those other levels, right? And I think that really changed my mindset, because before, like I mentioned, we in 15 plus schools. I think if I didn't have that conversation with my business advisor about pushing, I would have been comfortable and settled with just 4 or 5, right? Because I was afraid that we may be going too fast and may not be able to take on that many. But that the few words that were mentioned to me really made a difference on how we were able to grow and excel, but in a way that we have everything under control, because I kind of was selling myself short a lot of times on what could be accomplished, so.
Wow, well, thank you so much for sharing that as well. All these awesome nuggets you're dropping. And if someone's to ask you today, what's next for you? What are you envisioning the next 5 or 10 years for Dr. Leron and Matt and for success?
Keep expanding to more and more schools, reach more students, create more avenues to utilize our resources. We're looking to go nationwide eventually. Just keep growing, keep finding a way to be impactful, and I think that's the main vision, is to keep pushing to reach more students, reach all the students really worldwide.
Well, thank you so much for making time and being with us today. I appreciate you doing that. And I'm sure the audience listening to StartupGrind Detroit will also appreciate your story and your journey. And I hope that they find ways to connect and stay connected to you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
For those who are in attendees, you can continue to watch this or replay. If you're watching this on a replay, please feel free to share with other people and connect with us on StartupGrind or at ISM. Thanks.
Thank you.
Until next time.